Hello and welcome to In Stitches. Today on the bench I've got this lovely Singer Quantum Stylist 9960 sewing machine, and it's kind of targeted towards quilters really, but it's a very capable sewing machine as well, and I thought I'd just go through and do a little overview on the machine and get in under the covers there and take a wee look and see what makes the machine tick. It's got some very nice features which I'll go through in more detail later on, but just to show you a few here, I've got a thread cutter here, underbed thread cutter. It's the button to activate it there. We've got a sliding speed controller, which is pretty handy. We've got needle positioning up and down. We've got a reverse button here, and we've got the ability to use the machine without a foot controller, so you can just use the start stop button here. So that's quite a nice feature. If we have a look under the lid here, we can see the numerous stitch functions there. We've got everything from your sort of straight stitches here with offset needle positioning, right through to your three-step zigzag, some stretch stitches, and quite a few stretch stitches there, so likes of blanket stitching, things like that. Some more decorative stitches here. And we've got, how many buttonholes is that? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe 13 types of different buttonhole. I'm not sure you could consider that one a buttonhole. But yeah, pretty handy. We've got lettering, so we've got text, some classic Singer little motifs here. We've got the duck there, the little dog. So I recognise those from some of the older machines, and we've got some satin stitches. We've got different types of alphabet here as well. We've got a sort of the filled in style, and then we've got the outline style and italic as well, or sort of like a script. So let's get in and take a closer look at the machine. I'll plug it in and we'll do a little bit of sewing. So yeah, this machine's getting very good reviews, and I can see why, because I've actually used the machine and I'm quite impressed with the machine actually, and we'll go through and I'll show you that in more detail. One thing you saw right at the start there is it's got the hard carry case there. We've got a little door on the front there. You can store your foot controller and your power cable and your manual and bits and pieces in behind there. Pretty handy. You can slide off the accessory tray here. We've got our standard accessories in here, which we'll go through a little bit later, giving us a free arm here, so that's very handy. We've also got a drop feed mechanism, a little switch here for the drop feed there. But the nice thing about this machine also, one of the bonuses with the machine is this extension table here. Just pop the feet down there, and then we just slide that on to extend the sewing surface. So that's a nice little addition that comes in the box with the machine, as does the hard carry case, by the way. Also in the box you get an even feed foot, so that's pretty handy for quilting. Fairly standard power cable there, just a figure 8 type power cable, and a standard type plug-in foot controller, on-off switch on the side there. I'll take you through just some of the basics here, like for instance winding a bobbin. If we get some thread here, I'll just use this grey thread. It's nothing too flash, it's not Gutermann or Metla or anything like that, but it's a reasonable quality thread here. So put that onto the horizontal spool pin there. We've got a large spool keeper here that's probably appropriate for that type of spool. We also have a vertical spool pin there if required. You can put your thread on there if need be, but the horizontal spool pin there works fine. We've got a little guide here. So the dotted line is the bobbin threading, bobbin winder threading, and it's numbered here. So number 1 there, we come around there, around this little guide here, That's number 2, and then number 3 we come around that guide there like so, and then around the tensioner. It shows it fairly clearly there. I'm not sure how well that'll come through on the camera, but around the tension disc there, and then pop a bobbin on to the winder there, and we'll just wind around. The diagram shows poking the thread through the little hole in the bobbin there, but I don't bother. I just wind it around half a dozen times, and that seems to work quite well. And then engage the bobbin winder like so, and we've got the bobbin winding icon on the screen here. Sorry if you can hear all the background noise, cicadas and aircraft and cars and whatnot. It's pretty warm here today. It's about 30 degrees Celsius, so I've got all the windows open. Curious to know whether I can just hit start stop here. No, I can't, because I've got the foot controller plugged in. If I unplug the foot controller, I can use the start stop, or I can just use the foot controller plugged in, which I'll do. I'll put my foot down on the foot controller. Or if I unplug the foot controller, should be able to use start stop. Yep. And can I, yes, I can adjust the speed on the controller here as well. Okay. Pretty handy. I've just done a jump cut there to not make you have to wait right through the bobbin winding process there, and it automatically switches off there, and then we flip that back, disengages the bobbin winder. I'll plug the foot controller back in. Okay, so we've got a newly round bobbin there. Okay, installing the bobbin into the bobbin case is pretty straightforward. It's a drop-in style. Got a little latch on the right there, just pull that back, hook up the little bobbin cover there, little plastic bobbin cover, and we just drop the bobbin case in, but you have to make sure that the thread is coming off, so when you pull the bobbin there, pull the thread on the bobbin, that the bobbin turns anti-clockwise, so that the thread's coming off to the right on the bottom of the bobbin there. You can see it turning anti-clockwise there. Drop it in. There's a tiny little slot there. Just pull it into that slot there, like that, and basically just lie it across in this direction here so that it sits into this little slot here, little ledge there. And that's ready to pick up the bobbin thread there. So I'll put the little latch back on. There's enough clearance between the cover and the throat plate there for the bobbin thread to be free there, so that's no problem. It's not going to trap there. So top threading there is, we start off the same as the bobbin winder threading, except we follow the solid arrows. We've got number 1 there, number 2 over here, and 3. We go around this little piece here, and then we come down the slot here to 4, under there, up around 5 there, and we come down to 6 here, and behind the little thread guide I'll use my tweezers. You don't normally have to use tweezers, just that I'm working from behind the camera. It's a little bit awkward. Around that guide there, just testing that that's free there, that's good. And then under the little finger here on the needle threader, bring the needle threader down and push it to like that. Bring our thread across the front, bring our thread across the front like that, and under the little hook there, and there's our needle threaded there. And then we can bring up our bobbin thread either by turning the hand wheel until the take-up lever's gone down and then back up again. You can't see the take-up lever in these machines not very easily anyway, and that's fairly common for the modern sort of machines. So if you're not too sure, an easy way is just to use the needle positioning button here, and on this particular machine you would push it once to bring your needle down and then once more to bring it back up, and then you know that your take up lever's at the top of its travel up here, and it's ready to pull the bobbin thread up just like that there. So that's a nice easy way to make sure that you get your take up lever back to its starting position there. So we're ready to start sewing there. As soon as I lower the presser foot, we'll be able to go there. I've got the foot controller plugged in. We're set to straight stitch there. One of the things I like about this machine is it's reasonably quiet. And you'll notice that the needle stops by default in the down position so that you can easily pivot there. That's its full speed there. And then of course you've got a speed controller here. So if I bring that right down to the lowest speed there, that's your maximum speed. And if I floor it, it only goes that fast. So very nice and controllable. If I bring the speed control up just slightly, you'll see it speeds up. I've got my foot flat to the floor. So we've got a lot of control there, speed control. And I'm just sliding the slider there back up to maximum, and about halfway is about that fast there. So pretty handy feature there. So back tacking, we've got this button here, the reverse button just by your thumb here. I'll hit that once and it does one step backwards. If I hit it again, it does another step backwards. So you've got very fine control there with your back tack if you want it. And then if I just leave the back tack alone, it carries on forward again. So quite like that. If I hold the back, if I sew down here and I hold the back tack while I'm sewing, it does a back tack as you'd expect, only for as long as I hold the button in. Now that's only at half speed. If I go full speed here, let's try that back tack again. And it doesn't slow down for your back tack. I like that as well. Fairly instant acceleration, I like that also. If you've seen the video on my FAF Quilt Expression 720, you'll know that that was one of the prerequisites to me buying a sewing machine. Is if I put my foot down flat, straight off, it takes off almost instantly. Not a big fan of the slow start. Anyway, that's good. And I do like the full speed back tack as well. That's very nice. While I'm on the subject of back tacking, there's an auto tack button here, this one here. If you turn that on, the little icon displays in the display there. Turn it off again, just here. It's on there. It will automatically do a tacking stitch at the start of the seam there. And if I just start down there and I hit the reverse, it will automatically do a tacking stitch there as well. I'll just get you in closer there, so I'll start that again. We've got tack on. And then I'll hit reverse, and that does your end tack, and then I can trim. We've also got an automatic back tack available here, this stitch function. So we've got the straight stitch. If I put that on, it'll do a automatic back stitch here, or back tack, whatever you like to call it. So if I hit start there, if I hit start stop there, it does the automatic back tack. And then if I hit the reverse button, it also does the automatic back tack as well. Okay, and then I can do the trimming, just like that. Auto back tack, pretty handy. Also got the up down button and the little turtle icon here. So at the moment we're stopping in the down position. If I hit the button, it brings the needle into the up position. Okay, it always remembers that it's in down position, but each push of the button does basically a half cycle. So needle up, needle down, needle up. If you're sewing along at full speed and you just want to temporarily slow down, you can hit this button here, just hold it while it's sewing, and it'll go into slow mode. So like that. And if you hit it again, it'll speed up again. Or if you're sewing along fast, you hit that, you go into slow mode. If you stop and then start again, you start in the fast mode again. As far as the cutter function is concerned here, I'll be hitting this button whenever I want to do a trim function. So if I just sew here, and of course the needle will stop in the down position. If I hit the trimmer button, it automatically brings the needle up and trims the thread. If I'm in this position here and I bring the needle up like that and then use the trim function, it'll do a full revolution and trim. Just like that there. There's also a thread cutter on the back of the machine, so if we just bring the needle into the up position and remove the fabric there, we can pass it through the little thread cutter there on the back. So these buttons are quick access buttons. We've got the straight stitch with the needle in the center, straight stitch with the needle off to the left. We've got our back tacking, automatic back tacking stitch, and here we've got a zigzag stitch, so just instant access to the zigzag there. Okay, and also we've got like a blind hemming stitch there as well. Got a stretch type stitch there. And we've got a buttonhole stitch, I'll cover that in a second. So if you want to change the stitch width, when you're on, say, zigzag for instance, or the stitch length, you've got this little width and stitch length icon here, and that corresponding arrow is pointing up from this button here. So you hit that button there, and then these arrows correspond, or these buttons correspond to these arrows which point to the function. So that's your width there, negative, positive. And then you've got these two here which are your negative and positive on your stitch length. So adjusting this takes it off the default. So when the 5 is, it's got a dark background, that's the default setting. If you hit the plus, it goes off the default setting and therefore no longer on a dark background there. So we've got 5.5 millimeters, 6, so 6 millimeter stitch length there is maximum for that one. Stitch width. 6 millimeter stitch width there is the maximum for that one. And stitch length, we're at a default of 2 there. If we just bring that up to 2.5. If we want to go back, we can hit this back here, and you can see that this icon here is no longer dark like this one, which means the setting is off its default there. I'll show you the zigzag there. That's the widest, longest zigzag. That row there. That one there is the default zigzag there. This one is our widest, longest stitch for the zigzag there. So you can see that the options are pretty easy to change. Okay, and this one here is referring to thread tension. So if you want to take it off the standard thread tension there, we're on a thread tension of 6, that's the default. You can move the little pointer along the scale here by choosing the plus and minus there. If you want to go auto, you can, it takes it back to 6. You can, by the way, also disable the beeps if you find the beeping annoying, and I would, so I would definitely disable the beeps. But I'll leave them on for the meantime. I'll just quickly explain the buttons here. I'm not going to do a full review today. I'm just going through the basics really at this stage. This button here brings up your utility stitches here, and then you can scroll through. So this gives you more than what you see here, obviously, and you can scroll through with these arrow keys here. So if we've got 1 to 5 there, and we've got 6 to 10 there, so you can scroll through, and that's basically just scrolling through the pattern stitches that you see here, just like so. And if you want to select one of those, say this snowflake type one, you just hit the corresponding function key to enable that. You can also scroll through just by hitting the switch here. So I'm scrolling through 5 at a time here. Rather than using the right arrow, you can also use the left arrow to go back. But this will scroll forward here. So these stitches here, 50, 105, 116, they're your utility stitches. And then you've got your decorative stitches here, 1 through 34, and then you've got your text here. So this button here, that does your decorative stitches and your text here. So if you hit it first time, you get your decorative stitches, you can scroll through those. And then if you hit it again, you get your text here. So we start off with standard text there, we hit it again, it scrolls through to like a script type text, and then we've got an italic and an outline, and then we have a different language here. Okay, and then if you hit it again, you go back to your decorative stitches there. The edit button here, when selecting decorative and lettuce stitches, you can change the setting of each pattern by pressing this button here. The clear button, if you've changed the settings like some mirror or reverse elongation, stitch width, stitch length, thread tension of utility stitch pattern, you can return to preset setting by pressing this button here. So we've got the cursor buttons in this row here. When decorative and lettuce stitch sewing, you can check and edit combined patterns or letters by pressing these buttons. We've got the tack utility, we've seen the twin needle button, that limits the zigzag so that because the twin needle's wider obviously than a standard single needle, you don't want to use the maximum zigzag because the twin needle will go outside the limit of the throat plate hole, so that limits the zigzag there. You can also adjust the contrast on the LCD. As far as quilting is concerned, it comes with a nice little 1/4 inch foot here for your straight sewing, for your piecing. And we've also got a free motion quilting foot here, which you would attach and use the drop feed function to just, achieve your free motion sewing there. So that comes in the kit as well. And we've also got a quilting guide there as well. I won't demonstrate those. I mean, I'm assuming that anyone who's into quilting will know what they are for, but I'm sure there are plenty of videos on YouTube that would show you how to use these bits and pieces if you don't know. But I won't go through them right now. What I would like to go through though is the buttonholing feature here. Now, as far as buttonholes go, we have a special buttonhole foot here. You adjust the buttonhole foot here. You place a button in the back here. Sorry, I don't have a button on hand, so I can't demonstrate that part, but you basically place a button in there and clamp it up with this here, and that determines the size of the buttonhole. It's automatically determined for you, and you can just remove the standard sewing foot there, install the button sewing foot, buttonhole foot there. It's just a snap-on style buttonhole foot there. We pull down the little buttonhole lever there, and that sits in between these two little plastic pieces on the buttonhole foot there. And then we just insert our piece of material there that we want to put a buttonhole in, and we select buttonhole feature here, and there are plenty of options there for, you know, changing stitch length and width and things like that. But that's just the standard buttonhole I'll show you right there. I'll just hold that thread there, and we'll just get going there. Right. And you can see it's automatically doing the buttonhole there. Just like that, it's done its tie off, and then I'll hit the trimmer button, and there we have a nice buttonhole there, just like that. And if we want to select a different type of buttonhole, we can do so. Let's try a keyhole style buttonhole there. And by the way, it actually prompts you for the recommended foot. So it's recommending foot F there, that's the buttonhole foot. Okay, let's try the keyhole. And we're ready to go. Just put your foot down. Trim there, and there we have a keyhole buttonhole. So yeah, pretty versatile, pretty easy. And when you're finished, you just put the little buttonhole lever back up into position there, drop the foot off, and you're ready to install whatever foot you want to install there. So we'll just go back with, that's the A foot there, standard foot, just snap on like that. Now the accessories that come with the machine, we've got a screwdriver there, you've seen the buttonhole foot, you've seen the 1/4 inch foot, you've seen the free motion darning foot, the spool pin, you've seen a little quick unpick or seam ripper there, comes in the accessories, little cleaning brush there, another little screwdriver, spare needles, a few spare bobbins is one I've got in the machine. We've seen the quilt guide. There's an edge guide there that you can screw onto the plate just with in this little screw hole here. Still edge guide there. We have the little felt there for the spool keeper. We've got the small spool keeper there. And as far as the feet go, we've got a button sewing foot. We've got an open toe foot there, a zip foot for sewing zips or zippers. That is your blind hemming foot, I think that one. That one is like a cording foot, is it? Some sort of cording type foot there. That's your blind hemming foot there. I'll look these two up in a second. This is a clear type foot here. It's good for decorative stitches, satin stitching and whatnot. It's got a little bit of clearance under here, so that's pretty handy. And we've got a rolled hem foot, probably 1/4 inch rolled hem, I would say. Yes, confirmed that that's the cording foot, and this one here is actually an overcasting foot. So for doing the likes of like overlocking or serging down the edge of a seam there. That's that one there. So that's the accessories. There's a nice little set of accessories there. Instruction manual's pretty good. I won't go through it all, but it's comprehensive. There are 3 languages. I think it's French and maybe Spanish, not sure. English. Very good, clear diagrams. Tells you everything you need to know. Pretty straightforward there. Okay, so manual's good. What I would like to do is I would like to pull the covers off and have a look inside. So I'll go ahead and do that and I'll be right back. Wow, that didn't take as long as I thought it would. That was surprisingly easy to get into. So thumbs up for serviceability. Yeah, the front was basically just held on by a few clips and one screw which screws in here and it just needs to be loosened. 2 connections to the front panel board here, the display board and the button board there. Pretty straightforward. We've got a couple of PCBs here, one for the switches on the front there, and we've got a slider switch for the little PCB for the slider switch there. Little LED lamp here. The back panel was just 3 screws, 1, 2, 3 screws, 4, sorry, another one there, and that screw there held on the faceplate there, just that screw there. There were 3 screws holding the lid on there, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it was just a matter of taking the rear cover off, the front cover, and the top here, obviously the faceplate here. Pretty easy to get into. And so we've got the motor down here, the little fan on it, nice little motor there, pretty stock standard for a sewing machine these days, little one like that. Comes up to this is a drive belt here, up to the main pulley here. We've got our hand wheel and bobbin winder with its disengaging clutch there, a stop motion clutch, automatic there. And we've got our main shaft coming along here, and we've got another pulley that is driving another shaft down the bottom here. This drives down here. We've got a rotary encoder there, and we've got another couple of sensors here that'll be the needle positioning sensors there. If we have a look along this end here, we've got a little motor here. That's a little stepper motor there that's the tension. You can see the tension adjusting just here. Right, and then we've got our counterbalance here and our take-up mechanism being driven here, and our needle bar being driven there. Come around this side a bit further, we've got our needle bar mechanism there, take-up lever in behind here, just there. Another little stepper motor, that will be for your zigzag. That'll be your zigzagging. This little stepper motor there. Pretty good. Down the bottom end here, we've got our main shaft here coming across to drive the hook here. We've got a vertical hook, the drop-in style bobbin of course, and we've got another little stepper motor here. This is adjusting the stitch length here, this one, and does your reversing and your stretch stitches. And then it's fairly standard fare, but it seems to be very well built. Over this end here, we've got the thread trimmer with another little motor underneath there for the thread trimmer mechanism there. So yep, pretty standard, but very nice and tidy, very easy to get into, good quality, it's nice and solid, and yeah, don't have any qualms about that whatsoever. We've got our circuit board here, little processor up here. I guess we've got some memory maybe dotted around here, and yeah, pretty good. So anyway, I was curious, and I thought why not show you while I was at it. So I'll go ahead and put the machine back together, and I'll be right back. Just putting it back together, and I realised I didn't show you the back. We've got a power supply just here. What capacitor have we got there? What make is that? Suscon. Yeah, not sure about that. I haven't heard of that brand, but I'm sure that'll be fine. Transformer in the back here. Pretty standard. Nice big aluminium chassis there. Looks pretty strong. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I think I'll just put the machine back together. There's nothing really to see here. You know, as I say, it wasn't a full-on rundown on every single function. The lettering was something that I thought about showing you, but you know, it's pretty standard fare. You type in the letter and you'd put it into memory, and you know, create your word from there. So, you know, pretty straightforward. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. And yeah, thanks very much for watching. And thank you, as always, to my patrons on Patreon. And we'll see you in the next one. And if I get this back together and it doesn't work, I might see you sooner than that. But hopefully I can get it back together okay without any issues. Hope not, anyway.